The museum opened in 2001, but this collection is much older. Started off back in the 30s mainly, collecting bygone skills, things that were going out and no longer existing, but that evolved and changed over time. So really it's about transmission of knowledge through generations, through craft, through skill, and kind of through objects understanding everyday life of the past. And maybe the future as well. Artsquad worked with the museum through Mayo County Council Arts Office as well in creating this, what we now call Onsight. And there was a lot of knowledge and information gathered by Artsquad through working with community and creating a site-specific festival, really.
You're always looking for new venues and locations and new organisations to develop work with. And the grounds around the museum are amazing, so it just seemed like a logical progression for us to contact, approach them and look at the idea of developing an art sculpture through it. I suppose it's how creative the artists can be when they see the landscape and how they react to that landscape and use it to their advantage.
I was facilitating a group to make stuff, to sing, to make music. There was also outside groups involved with Artsquad at the time, so they came on board as well, and I felt that it went really well.
Onsight is launched as part of Féile na Tuatha Festival, which is at the end of May, and that's an annual event. And then it continues for 3 months.
So many people visit the museum, especially for the weekend.
It's very accessible and it's tactile and intellectual, and it can be whatever it needs to be for that audience. So in actual fact, I think that's the great thing about it. It's quite a unifier. It's of interest to everybody.
A lot of people don't go to galleries. They don't. It's not on their calendar to go to see the latest exhibition in the Arts Centre. So this sort of brings it out of the institution and puts it on the pathway in front of them.
The Greenway is open from Castlebar to Turlough, and so you do have a lot more people coming in, walking the grounds.
I often go out to the museum because I live locally and walk the grounds, so I like to see those pieces of art then, that you can see them at a much later date sometimes, and that they're withstanding elements.
Well, I suppose the weather is the biggest issue, because it could be, a couple of years the sun was shining, we're like Costa del Sol, and then next thing's like the Antarctic. Other years it's just mental weather.
I like that. I like that it's outdoor and you kind of have to explore a bit to find it as well.
Initially it would have started just with Artsquad as being the main providers of the artwork, but then we've broadened it out where there's an opportunity for independent and freelance artists to participate now as well. So there's an open submission around that, and they have to go before a panel and the works are selected.
Opportunity arose to work on the Onsight project in the National Museum in Castlebar. Artists and the curators in the museum get to iron out a lot of detail that needs to be worked on. Like, gives you the freedom to kind of work out issues. You're dealing with the weather, especially where the park is. There's a lot of a lot of wind and a lot of rain, so you kind of have to build something that's very robust. Also, because it's on the grounds and it's quite a large grounds, it has to be able to deal with, quite possibly, with vandalism. So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well, which isn't a bad thing, because you can, you're kind of challenged to kind of build something that could withstand abuse. Yeah, definitely.
I always admire artists. They put themselves out there and they create something that is open to comment and ridicule and praise and all that. I think that they can bring imagination and perspective in a way that maybe isn't possible in other ways.
You don't normally get to a museum really in the west of Ireland. Like, there isn't many facilities like that around. It also gives you an insight into our own history, especially local history.
The museum likes to build a relationship with the artists themselves and make the collections better known to the artist community and to act as inspiration for their work.
I've worked on a number of Willow projects with Artsquad. It's quite interesting to use willow, which is normally associated with kind of traditional crafts, to kind of exploit the willow and kind of redirect it and kind of try to make something that is more accessible to the wider public.
I came in this country 20-something years ago. I used to go and demonstrate basket making every year in the Turlough village. I made an effort to collect as much information as I can because it's a dying craft. The knowledge I have as an artist or as a willow weaver, and connect these two things. Walking with people, but walking with people and art. What I started is to design together with collaboration of people an outside classroom, which is entirely built out of willow.
Willow is quite an interesting medium because it is a living material, and once it's stuck in the ground, it would more than likely start to grow.
I see this as a great future for connecting willow with people and connecting people with art and with the outside.
Onsight is a fantastic facility.
You're left with a lot of scope, and the museum I found didn't interfere with any of that. It was left entirely up to myself.
I got all the freedom of developing anything which I would like to.
For artists to get involved, I think the standard is every year is just going up and up.
I'd like to see the budget increase tenfold, so then you could include a lot more artists, independent artists, people on Artsquad that want to submit as an individual and go through that selection process. Once you get a bigger budget, then it gives more opportunities.
I think that a museum has a very unique mission, and the mission is around objects and the stories objects tell, that we're not all things to all people, and when we engage in other projects such as projects with artists, we do have to keep reminding ourselves what our core work is, and it is around the stories of the objects.